and welcome to Low 5 Gaming, and we are back to our roots this month. Alex, how are you?
Man, I'm doing all right, trucking along.
Trucking, hell yeah. We're into March, no more winter. Big Midwest update, mildest winter of all time, though, so I don't know what I'm complaining about, but hey.
Shout out global warming.
And last winter was wild, so I'll take a mild.
That's true, man. I'm living that home ownership life, dude. And I only had a shovel like 3 times. And if you're from the area, you know that is a blessing.
And yet he has not taken down his Christmas lights, which I have not made fun of him to this moment. I'm glad I waited for that one. He's that guy in the neighborhood. Do you let him ride at night, or you shamefully leave him unplugged? Or are you just like full steam ahead?
Okay, so I have no problem running the lights through up to like right around Valentine's Day is when I'm like, all right, good on those.
It's pretty deep, dude.
But they bring me joy, man. It's dark out there, and like now we have this like spring, so like I'm, this early spring, so I'm not gonna.
At what point is it the point of no return? And you're like, I might as well keep them up for next year.
Oh no,
you're in that territory now. Where you're
dude,
like, really? Should I?
I'll get the ladder out and I'll take them down this weekend. I've been telling myself that for the last 3-4 weeks.
That's fair. It's like doing your taxes. But
speaking of that, my tax guy,
tax corner. Okay.
Dog, my tax guy, they got me in, or the tax guy that I like was able to get me in this year. The last 3 years I've been slow on setting up the appointments, so he's been all booked out. They got me in the day before tax day, which is tight, but it also means I've just been putting off all my book work.
Gosh dang. Well, if you came here for tax updates, you're welcome. If you came here to hear about Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown, you're welcome.
Oh, dang.
It's the shock, dude. Oh, man. This is a throwback,
I'm stoked
dude.
on this game, dude. It's a cool game.
Fuck yeah, dude. Fuck yeah. It's a callback to our first pod, so our longtime listeners will know that we launched our first 5 pods actually simultaneously. But backlog to the very first one was young and much cuter Alex and Luke. Just been beat down these last few years,
Yeah.
No, those optimistic boys.
We're dads
we
now,
back.
bro.
Yep.
We were boys, now we're men. Maybe. I don't know.
Just like the idea, it's like, those were our early podcasts as boys, but we're men now.
Yeah, you should see the beard on this boy over here. Man over
this
here.
Man, it's pretty raggedy. There's the spoiler there. But yeah, man, the first pod we ever did was on The Prince of Persia from like the late 80s, early 90s.
89, bro.
Hell yeah. And Ubisoft, despite all of their up and downs of late, released a slapper, but it's for a pretty niche crowd. And we were like, hey, we're that niche crowd. So thanks, Ubisoft. Don't say that very often, but thank you.
No, man, it's been interesting following that discourse. Like, a lot of people do love this game. That niche target, fucking loving it, I think, more or less. I really love it. But the sales aren't great. We can talk a little bit more in a little bit, but
sure,
that's how it is today with these games, big budget games especially. They're never hitting their quotas unless they're really knocking it out of the park.
Yeah, no doubt. So it's just our quick refresher and a nice little cute update. This is like one of the oldest games that we had. We had a little floppy disk of it, and we would play it. So it goes way back, the Prince of Persia series, that is. For some reason, everybody else likes the GameCube era, but I haven't played any of those, ironically.
I know you you peer pressure me into getting the Steam pack during one of the sales. I've fired them up, but I'm the type of person, dude, that like I want to play the first one first, and it's a little crunchy.
Well, yeah, you don't have to feel guilty to me. I haven't even opened them.
Right on.
So, but $5 is $5.
That's just it. It was like, how are you not going to send it and get these beloved games, dude? Yeah. That series, the 3D Prince of Persia series, and it's wild too, man. I dug around. There was like a weird. I can't remember if it was Dreamcast or what, but they like before those 3D series, like they had another weird Prince of Persia platformer that went out. Dude,
well, there's Prince of Persia 2, which was all right. But anyway.
Yeah. But that's a side score. This is interesting, dude, because like you said, people love that shit. Shout out to the homie Steven. He loves, like, that was my introduction, even though I didn't play. Like, he loves the 3D Prince of Persia series so much. They're tight. Dude, and like I've watched him like fucking on his little like man cave, just like running around and like doing the parkour shit that that you can do, and it's tight, man. So like I know
parkouring in video games is underrepresented. I think people end up liking that more than developers like doing it.
Fair enough. It's probably pretty complicated, dude. Like
I told a pretty goofy story about the OG game in the first pod where I had a student that during the pandemic would just watch me play all the time. And then I'd have him play when he came back because it was a weird hybrid thing. And he sucked at it and it was really funny. I now teach his little brother.
Oh, word.
And just randomly told his little brother about it.
Yeah.
And he plays it and he has to get around the school's firewall and all these things, but he plays it all the time. And he's gotten as far as
little
me.
brother or the older
little brother.
Oh, so he plays it too.
The little brother
That's
plays
fun,
it.
dude.
Older brother never really cared other than to watch me play when he was bored in advisory. But
right on.
Little brother's like pretty good at it, and it's pretty wholesome to watch.
Hold on.
Hell yeah!
So you introduced little brother to it, or did older brother introduce?
I did.
Okay, interesting. You're like,
it'd be cooler if his older brother did, but I was just like, hey,
check this shit out. Your older brother used to do with me.
Yeah, pretty much, man. Cool. Pretty much. So that's a fun little update. So yeah, man. So when the game came out, it was kind of surprise announced last year, I'd say. Like there wasn't a huge window. There wasn't like people knew about the remake they were trying to do of those 3D games, and that seems to be in some sort of developmental delay. I'll just say nicely. Seems a little confused as to what's going on there. And all of a sudden they're like, no, we have like a 2.5D, just completely different thing, about 90% cooked over here, and it's going to release soon. And I'm in the small niche market of people who are most excited for it, so I got it pretty close to release, and I was like, some nice motivation to play it. Let's make out play it. We'll put it on the pad.
Yeah,
so that's why we're here today.
Ready to send it. I was stoked on it too, man. Like the history we have with the original 2D Prince of Persia. Like I love Metroidvanias, dude.
Same.
So I was excited to see this one come, and it's been a treat.
Yeah, no, it's a great game. Might as well just get into what it is. Would you like to read your large press releasey paragraph?
Sure would, bro.
I'd rather not breathe heavily into the mic. Maybe I'll just step to the side here.
Right on. Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown is an enthralling action-adventure platformer developed by Ubisoft Montpellier. Set in the mythological realm of Mount Koth. How have you been reading that?
I think the or the actors say it, but cough. Right. Cough. I think it's just cough.
Inspired by Persian mythology,
yeah.
Which is cool. I think that's dope. I didn't really look into that, but I love that.
It plays into the game's aesthetic a lot,
it does.
Which is really cool. But there's lots of lore in there that I don't read, but is cool when I sometimes read a little bit of it.
I have noticed that too, and I do dig it. But it was released on January 18th, 2024. The game offers players a unique adventure to save the prince and restore world balance. Players step into the shoes of Sargon, a young gifted Persian warrior navigating through cursed lands filled with diverse biomes and formidable foes. Utilizing a combination of unique time powers and super abilities, the gameplay promises an epic journey across a beautifully crafted imaginary world. Available across multi-platforms, The Lost Crown delivers a captivating blend of exploration, combat, and story, all set against a richly detailed Persian mythological backdrop.
So yeah, man, to break that down, modern Metroidvania. You have your 2D 2.5 because some things are kind of through depth. I don't really know how to describe 2.5, but when I'm playing the game, I sometimes get it.
Yeah, dog. I think it's it's a 2D side-scrolling platformer, but I think that 2.5 thing is because you more or less nailed it. It's that what I think in its simplest terms would be like the parallax scrolling. Like that was introduced to gaming a while back on the 2D. It's basically you have your front and then the background like moves along with what you're doing or whatever. So there's action in the background. But it takes that another level, right? Because it's multi-layered and then it's also shaded in a way where it's not like your pixel layers or whatever. It looks like there's depth. So like that's the 2.5D is because there's actual depth, like visual depth to it, as opposed to just being like kind of flat or like these pictures or whatever.
Yeah. And I say modern Metroidvania because it definitely, you'll hear others talk if you've listened to any other podcasts on the game. They definitely borrowed or adapted or improved upon or polished different aspects of a Metroidvania these days. Like it's got a lot of Hollow Knight in it. It's got a lot of Metroid in it.
I know. Hollow Knight is like a gaping hole in for being a Metroidvania stan. Like the fact I haven't played like Hollow Knight is kind of shameful. And a part of me feels a little bit bummed that I haven't played Hollow Knight before this because I have heard so much discourse about how much it does borrow from Hollow Knight. But whatever.
Yeah, that being said,
that makes me appreciate this game even more though because I'm like, this is dope shit.
I have played Hollow Knight and I loved it, but it reminds me more of Dread.
I definitely felt that
Dread.
Too, man. Especially at the get go. Dread with swords.
Yeah, I would say that it stands on its own as far as they have some unique-ish qualities to it, but just the overall style and flavor of it, I'd say, sets itself apart. Maybe you're not going to say this is the most crazy innovative game, but you're going to say this is a cool game and it was an enjoyable game and they did everything really well. And it's just kind of funny, like Ubisoft goes so big all the time and a lot of people get tired of the big. So the fact that they just did a quieter, smaller, refined experience was awesome. So
I was reading this like it was like a Reddit post or whatever where it was one of those deals where they kind of tore it apart. And then they're like, I don't mean to be such an ass about it because I did enjoy it, but like there's just like this high expectation on these games, and like I don't know, man. It's even though the graphics aren't like stunning, like we're in a really weird time for graphics because I thought the graphics worked real well in this.
They're smooth. They remind me of like a Saturday morning cartoon aesthetic.
Right. But the thing is, they also didn't like wow me, but I played it on the Switch. So for me, I was like, this is totally fine. But I think for someone like you who played it on the Series X, maybe you're longing for a little bit more. But at times, dude, there were times though, like especially with that 2.5D going on in the backgrounds, I was pretty impressed.
Yeah, I mean it's cool. It's a very unique art style. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on Persian archaeology, but the backgrounds are very lush and lavish. I'd say so. The environments of the game are really cool. It's a nice skin to put on this style of game, and then sometimes that's all you need is like I want to play this style of game, and the environment that your character is in makes a big difference. So the Mount Kaf or whatever is like this cursed mountaintop. You're trying to save the prince. You're not actually the Prince of Persia.
Yeah, that was a big like from my understanding.
Sure,
I mean all the other Prince of Persias, you're always the prince, right?
Sure, I guess, but.
Not that big.
Could never give
whatever.
I'm really just pulling from the side scroller game we played where I'm just this little blonde white boy just platforming along. So I've never cared. Sure. But the story and the atmosphere are really cool. I love the music, and I can't tell you that it's like awesome Persian music, but it has tricked me. It sounds cool.
Dog. So that's another thing. Yeah. I didn't pick this up, but just by reading about it around the internet and stuff, like because that's another thing where folks are like, well, it's not bangers. Like I don't really care. But my understanding is they did. It's like a nice infusion of some Persian music, like it's infused into what's going on. So that's like this subtle, like it's got the flavor, which is kind of tight.
Yeah, and like the actors, they did a good job with that. I like just the way they animate things in general in this. So I really like the style. So moving on to like the big impressions, I've played a solid 17 to 18 hours, which I was surprised by. Sometimes it felt like I'd been playing forever when I was lost and lumbering around the map trying to figure something out in true Metroidvania fashion.
Right. This game's interesting. I've put in about 10, 11 hours. So not as much as I wanted to, but I enjoyed it. All of those, all that time, man, because it's a good Metroidvania, and I think that you kind of nailed it with like the poking around the map shit. It does that super well, and it's interesting because you have a couple options. Ubisoft gave you the option to have a guided path, right?
Yeah,
so that's
like
something
more
you select
checkpoints.
at the beginning,
Yeah.
right? So like.
My pride would not let me do that. I was like, maybe I'll beat the game on time for the pod, but I was like, my pride, I was like. This type of game, I'm supposed to like look at the map and be like, haven't been over there.
And the map's good, bro. Like, and the map's with the different sections, and like,
great.
it's everybody that's covered this game is going,
excellent map design.
It is, dude. Everybody that's talked about this game is going to bring up the screenshot ability that you can do.
And that is sick for my system, like the Xbox. Small grievance. I open up the map, I look at the picture, and then it exits me out of the map. So that's infuriating.
I don't like that either.
The Switch, everyone's always complained about the home screen. This is a very niche thing I'm about to say here, but I've always taken screenshots and just done that on my own and then flipped through. So it's a slightly better version of that system. So I felt like I invented this, and I am willing to take credit for this use of this map skill because I've been doing this on my own brilliantly, where I would take a picture of whatever I couldn't get to and then pull up my map and take a picture. So then because the Switch, like, the home screen, all that's really fast and like really quick
People
to
used
get
to
where
hate on the home screen.
They still do, and I never got it because I was like, this is actually my favorite one. You can get to these places so fast, and I would do that. But yeah, you hold down on the D-pad and it takes a screenshot essentially that is laid over your map. So you hover over the icon on your map that you laid there, and it shows you whatever it is that you were stuck at or wanted to return to. So that's gnarly.
I really like that because in true Metroidvania form, you would, find something that you can't platform through it, or you can't figure it out.
You can clearly tell this is where you need to go, but like the bricks with the yellow opening,
bricks is a good example of it.
Or they're not even yellow bricks, but it's like a wall that looks breakable, and there's light coming through the wall, and you're like, what breaks through this wall?
Totally.
I got that thing, and it feels great, by the way. I think I'm slightly ahead of you on that. So
I've got those pictures too, and it's like that was just kind of a nice note-taking type, in-game note-taking thing that I thought was a great addition to this. And then I'll race him once I complete that area. But it's a nice reminder, because it's not new to be able to put stamps on something or to have Metroid Dread did a really good job of having different symbols and color codes or whatever things.
But you always forget.
Right. Because there's so much shit going on. And this, I thought that was
not
tight.
a notebook gamer, but maybe someday I will be.
This was one too that as I played, that map just was so expansive. It kept surprising me at how big, how many different areas there were.
Areas being very unique to one another, and we won't get into the story too much because it gets kind of convoluted.
It's spoilery.
It's spoilery, and it's not hard to follow. But
we haven't finished.
And there's that. As soon as we start explaining it, we sound crazier than we are. So
there's fun shit going on with it, though. I do enjoy that they
time is generally cursed on this place. So some people do some rapid aging. They feel like they've been stuck forever. Some people are like a kid, but they've been stuck doing this thing. They feel like forever. So time is a weird mistress.
Totally. And I think that comes the Sands of Time stuff. Probably everybody that's played that series of games is going to understand or be probably more familiar with those types of things.
The general rewind. They've got a fancier word, but the general rewind of it all. And in playing these games throughout this hour, it's a good play because they nail the different elements very well. So like we said, it's not like this crazy innovative thing, but their combat, I think for a Metroidvania, and it's hand-to-hand combat for the most part, or like swords, melee combat, I think it's really good. It's really sharp. I actually did the tutorials recently that I didn't know were available way earlier.
Oh, yeah.
And I learned a bunch of things that I could have been doing smarter about my combat. So that was kind of funny.
Dude, the combat is great in this game. And right when I fired it up, I actually played the demo.
Yeah.
I didn't complete the demo, but I got a flavor of it or whatever. And it was interesting to me because, I got this on release day or whatever. I pre-ordered it a day or two in advance. But whatever. Yeah, I was stoked on it and I wanted to play. But it shows up and I fire it up and I had just tasted the demo and I was so surprised. The demo was tight in the sense, but I was a little upset that the actual game intro and tutorial was better than what the demo gave you.
Yeah.
And it did a really good job of laying everything out. So I was surprised. I was like, why didn't they just give us the beginning?
I like when they make demos where your save carries.
Right. So I think that would have worked I didn't even look fine. I was kind of surprised that they didn't do it that way because the demo drops you in a little bit further than because basically the game lays out some story and does a little tutorial section before it drops you in the Mount Koff or whatever. And the demo just drops you right in Mount Koff. It's right at the point where you first break down the door. But you have powers unlocked already and you wouldn't know this. But there's a couple different things like the air dash is something you just start with. It's useful.
It's the game's built for you constantly dashing around.
Right. So I guess it makes sense that they would give that to you in the demo so that people know that this is a big part of this game.
Yeah.
But it was really odd to me that I don't know. I just think it would have worked better. But then if they did that, you probably, because it does take you a little bit of time before you get the air dash. So maybe they wanted people to know that existed or something.
Yeah, the air dash and just dashing in general is very smooth. It's a very quick game. You have your parries. So you have the special parries, kind of like Metroid Dread, although not as intense.
Dude,
where you do,
how are you at parry?
Moves. Awful, dude.
I'm so bad at it.
I spam dodge.
I was bad at it in Dread too.
Any game. Yeah. That you're supposed to parry. I just don't have the thoughtfulness and patience.
And it does the color coded thing too. Yeah. So if it's a red, you have to it's
a very player friendly game.
It is, yeah. And the yellow signals if you're being attacked and the attack looks yellow, that signals that you can parry, and you have to time it right. And it does a really cool cutscene type
it's
thing
an
where you
kill or a huge chunk of their health.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is dope, but my timing is always so off with it.
I tightened up, so I'm playing on the Series X, and I have an Elite controller or whatever. So I actually tightened up the left trigger.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Because during one of the boss fights, I was not hitting it because I was too fast on it, or maybe not fast enough, but I just needed to right there. So that's really cool. The combat is fast, fluid. I'd say as you get different platforming abilities in the game, it's really cool how the combat integrates those as well.
Right.
Like there's the one where you do the rewind thing where you place like a shell of yourself and you zip back to that and you do this attack.
Power twice or whatever.
Yeah. And I was like, I never would have thought of that, which is why you should really do those stupid tutorials to understand some of the hidden moves. But like, and then once I did that, I unlocked more of a dance. Which bring the game, it's got the bones of it all the way back from 1989. Those sword fights were actually low key kind of intense.
Yeah,
so
dude.
It's tight there. When you're jumping over giant spikes, you're like, hell yeah, some things never. But that's
there's those big like
it's just common.
They're like big those big blades or whatever that swing back and forth, reminding me of the chompers.
I was really bummed. So we can transition this to like talking about the.
Let me say one thing about the combat real quick.
Sure,
dude. The combat. Super slick to begin with. You can more or less button hack your way through fights or whatever,
very fast,
or like figure out what works for you. But what I think is really cool about this game and what elevates that combat is that it has not only taken that Metroidvania like flavor, but with the combat, it's infused like fighting game stuff. Like the combos you can do.
Yeah.
Like if you're the type of person that loves fighting games, I think you're going to love the combat in this game. Because you can hit those combos for really cool threads of like shit, and that's another thing what the tutorial will help teach you.
I'm very not great at it, but
you
sometimes
you get the fucking baddies. You can do the upswing, get them juggling, jump up, like shoot them with an arrow, like hit them a couple extra times if you're doing the combo correctly. It's pretty dope, dude.
Yeah, but no, for sure. And the abilities once again play into that. The platforming is tight. It's actually last night was the first time that it's like hit me with the platforming assist thing, and I was like, "Fuck you, I'm gonna die."
Interesting.
Yeah. So
how does that even work?
I'm not sure because I have too much pride and I didn't take it up on its prompt.
I've never seen that prompt.
But I had heard, not as far as me.
Maybe another 7 hours I might see.
Right. No, I had heard in a pod that someone was just like sick of the platforming at some point because he wanted to beat it before a deadline, and he flipped that on there, and he was actually breezing through stuff, and he was grateful for that. Yeah. But I think the platforming,
quality of life, that kind of shit, like or accessibility options, I think are cool.
It's cool if you're just like, hey man, I want to see some other stuff. But like that being said, you will stumble upon a lot of areas that are clearly platforming challenge sections with small different rewards, and
dude,
like Metroidvania, you have different upgrades all over the map.
Harks back to Celeste for me.
Yeah, I dig those. Although Celeste, you get the strawberry, and you're like, yay, and it's too hard.
Dude, some of this shit is like, I don't know, maybe a little bit more rewarding than a strawberry. Definitely more rewarding because you can use it. The strawberry is like a pride thing.
Yeah.
But dude, like, you'll get like a Xerxes coin or something, which I realize you can use for some pretty powerful items and stuff later on.
Yeah. For a while, it is like pride / this is going to pay off later. You jump over giant spikes and those. I really want to run through some chompers though. I'm like really bummed.
Dude, the closest thing that I feel like are the choppers are those swinging axes.
I thought of that, yeah.
But I do feel like if they don't, and granted I haven't rolled credits, so it could show up at some point. I don't feel like it will, but like those fucking choppers, I'd love to see them. Like that would be a really cool thing to sprinkle in this game. Yeah. But come on, Ubisoft Montpellier. Like, why aren't you got me on your fucking brainstorming table?
Yeah, right. Hire me. You already stole my idea about the screenshots I talked about earlier. Yeah, so the platforming is also extremely solid in its own right.
So good.
So it's like a different element of this game where you have the combat and the platforming. It's combat platforming.
And that dash we mentioned,
but they're all very solid.
Made like that's what kind of also gave me that Celeste flavor. And Celeste, top tier platformer, like one of the best. And this one, like, and that's, I think you mentioned it earlier, but this one Ubisoft did their fucking homework, dude.
They're definitely fans of games. I think that's the good way I'd put it. Like some people would be like copying this. I'm like, no, they just like know what works in these games. Right. It's a refinement.
And that was like a knock that I was reading someone's like comments on Reddit or whatever. And they're like, you can tell that, Ubisoft just like, took all this shit. Like they were saying that maybe this game could have been better if it was built. And I see what they're saying. Like the idea of like, if a smaller studio or like an indie studio put this game together, like we would maybe see more innovation or more like it would like bring it to that next level. And I think that's a fair statement, but at the same time, like I don't think we can I don't think we can rap on Ubisoft too heavily for the fact that they like cherry pick some of the best fucking things from existing Metroidvanias and put it into this game.
Metroidvania itself is like a callback homage to games of a different era. So you're making a 2.5D game in this era, so like I'm just like, you're just giving people like a nice cheeseburger. You don't have to reinvent cheeseburgers every time. Like sometimes they have some of the goofiest I like a weird burger.
Yeah.
But like sometimes I'm looking at stuff and I'm like, that actually doesn't sound good on my burger.
Dog.
What sounds good is like you just hit these main ingredients, but you give me really good beef and really good cheese and a really good bun instead of like, I got 3 meat patties.
Yeah, dog. Little promo from the Minnesota folks. Hit up Brunson's Pub in St. Paul.
Okay.
Good burger program there. One of those things though, dude, like I'm always like, kind of to your burger analogy. I fucking like, I'll fuck
Let's
with
get to
like,
what the people came here for, dude.
dude I'll
fucking tell me how you feel.
Dude, I'll fuck with like, the Bandito or like, the No Pain No Gain. Like I said, little Brunson's Pub promo here.
Continue. Yeah.
But here's the deal, man. I would never really fuck with the classic double, right? Because I'm like, whatever, it's a classic double. It's fine. Like,
it's the last thing I had there.
Dude,
it's good.
I had it. It's fire. Like, I mean, I've had it before too, but like sometimes, and this is back to your fucking analogy, sometimes you just want that classic double, bro. Like a good ass classic double.
In a less classy thing or example, sometimes a McDonald's double cheeseburger is just 2 thin, shitty little delightful patties, man.
Yes, sir.
Different hot take. I no longer like jalapenos on my burgers very much.
Oh, all right.
I like spice. It's just jalapenos don't give me this awesome spice flavor combo that I want on my burger. I'd rather go down different venues.
See, I like jalapenos, so.
Pickled ones, not raw ones. Sometimes I do raw ones. And I'm like, that was a huge mistake. But like a pickled jalapeno, I'm not a clown. It's just preference. I'm not saying it's bad.
It's Eppersol talking to you.
Fair.
We're getting pretty off topic here, bro.
I suppose. A nice wide array of enemies.
Yes.
That require you to do different things that you will find their tells.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they kick your ass for a little bit, and then you kind of figure it out. And that's not unique or new to them either, but each region seems to have some different sets of enemies. So I bring it up because it keeps things fresh, and the boss battles too are like a nice epic set piece.
Another thing about this game, where we were talking about how did it work in the original Pop when you died? Did you go all the way to the beginning? Did they start you off like, I'm trying to remember.
Some levels had checkpoints.
Okay.
But no.
But did you have a life count or anything like that?
It was like a timer.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. You had 60 minutes to beat that game.
And then in the 3D games, I'm pretty sure there's like a narrative style to it where the person's like telling the story of it after the point. So when you die, it rewinds and goes, no, that's not quite how it went.
Oh, interesting. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Fun narrative thing.
I bring this up because I think this game does a really good job, similar to how Dread did, Metroid Dread, and probably some other new age Metroidvanias. But and I bring this up because you mentioned the enemies, and some of the enemies are pretty tough until you figure out like what works to beat them. So when you die, it brings you back to, we haven't mentioned them yet, but they're these trees. What are the trees called again? You remember?
No, that's like the campfire or the bench.
Totally.
Depending on what game you're playing. The Metroid tubes. I don't know what you call those.
So as you progress through this map, you run into these trees and it's basically like checkpoints in a way. And you can also
the ability badges that you're just about to say before I cut you off to make sure you say them. That's amulets. Definitely a Hollow Knight thing. It's like
the amulet deals?
That's 100% a Hollow Knight thing. So that's a big thing. I think it's cool and it changes how you play the game.
It adds like an RPG level to it, or layer rather.
Which ones do you do?
Ooh, I do so I added the one that gives you like a half your health bar when you die. So that one's nice. I do the one
small health bar.
What's that?
You got a small health bar.
You talking about me? Like, is that a personal dig or is that like just a reference on the game? Because as you go through, you unlock those flower petals.
Yeah.
Oh, is that the dig on my penis?
Well, I wasn't. The pieces of heart for sure.
But no, my health bar is all right, dude. But I also use the one that gives you the health bar boost. So when you go to the trees, so when you go to the trees or whatever, you can. It gives you like an extra, I don't know, maybe third, because I've like upgraded a couple times. So it's a nice boosty like little that, which is great for bosses. But it's nice. So you've got the amulets that you bring up. But if you die, it will bring you back to the last tree that you checked in at.
Annoyingly, yeah.
Although when you die at a boss, it gives you the option to restart at that boss, which is happened in
Metroid did that, right? Dread did that.
Yeah. And I love that in Dread. And in this, it's really nice. Although it doesn't give you that health bar boost. So if you choose to go back to the tree, it will give you the health bar boost, which I prefer because it's usually a pretty short, like usually they got a tree it's not too much traversing to get back to that boss. So I'll go. Gotta cut this. Very prairie friendly.
A very player friendly game.
It is, which I think is cool, man. Like it's funny.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
It's funny. We are kind of teasing this with the not quality of life, but the accessibility features. I love that they put them in there, but I'm also the type of the gamer that's like, man, I'm not going to use them though.
Until I do. Like, I wasn't going to.
Oh, yeah, you did use that thing you're saying.
No, I didn't.
Oh, word. Okay.
I'm trying to think of if I actually looked anything up in this game yet, or if I've just been like really just like holding onto my phone being like, am I about to look up where to go? I think for one bonus thing I did. And then for the rest, because like a lot of times there's a weird pride thing where you're like, I don't want to cheat it.
Right, because that's part of the game. It's like with Celeste, you know, it's like you're like, oh, I'm going to fucking, you know, I'm going to do this. I'm going to feel great about it.
I would have done it in Celeste if it was an option.
Yeah, I think
there was moments where I was like, fuck this game.
Dude, I think that like and I think that's you take a shot for every time we say Metroidvania. But but I think that like
it is a Metroidvania. So.
Right. And I think a good Metroidvania, dude, is like part of that experience is you're meant to be exploring. And I know that there's an urge, especially, and this is a reoccurring theme on the pod, is just this like infinite amount of games that we have today. But, you know, like this, I think that you're really going to enjoy, that you truly are really going to enjoy Metroidvania if you like just give in to the exploration of it. That's when it really sings.
And I'll say that it's less obscure than Metroid's New or Old, where you're like, what? I didn't drop a bomb on the one ever so slightly different grayscale block. Right. Like, that's bullshit.
Right.
I haven't been mad about anything.
Not yet.
I've struggled, but I haven't like ever been like too upset.
Sure.
So yeah.
And I just bring it up because like I do think that there's a player that, and even me and you know, you just mentioned too that like it'd be nice to push through. Like I think there's that idea, and a lot of folks just want to push through to the end of the credits, and that's fine. And I think that I think having those accessibility features to allow folks to do that is cool. And I think that is cool that you have the opportunity to turn them on or not. And I'm just the type of player that I'm like, I'm gonna fucking and I think once I let go of the fact that like this month I wasn't gonna be able to get to the credits, I was like, okay. Instead of plowing through this, just enjoy, like, there's a part of the map that I can see is, because you talk to that little girl and she'll, like, you can buy a map off of her for $30.
And hints.
Which is dope.
I like both.
Yep. But so, like, as you traverse through the map, though, it, like, illuminates that section. So it'll be shaded, so you can tell if you've been somewhere or not.
Mm-hmm. And you have your little icons left behind where you're like, don't know what this need to get past this, but I know something.
And that's something I love about Metroidvanias is Metroidvania that does as well for me is like when you can look at the map, and I think Dread did a pretty good job of this too, but when you can look at the map and you can see, okay, I haven't been there yet, I'm going to go poke around in that area and see what's up. Yeah. Even though I know that I'm supposed to be headed somewhere else, I'm like, but I kind of want to see what's going on over here right now.
Well, yeah, and the map's interconnectivity works in your favor. There's definitely times where I like did this huge section and then all of a sudden I like beat this little mini boss thing and I'm like, this is where I'm supposed to be, and then like some prize shows up. I'm like, oh, that was for funsies. That's tight.
Dude, it's fun too. In the Discord, you were like, I thought that we were kind of neck and neck, but you're a little ahead of me, because then I realized, and this is I think another element of it being a good Metroidvania, take a shot, but is that you can kind of choose. You know, you don't have to, even though that I think you said earlier, like, and I think I've seen this on the internet, the one drawback that some folks have, or one qualm that folks have, is that it pushes you through like, it's a little too linear. But that wasn't our experience, dude, because I thought, you know, you were in an area that I was like, oh yeah, dude, we're like pretty much neck and neck. But then I realized that you did like something out of order then from me, and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's like, when you have to get the 2 feathers.
Right.
And you were getting your first feathers, was my second. So I suppose, yeah, they have moments like that where you can go in a few directions. So it's still relatively linear, but in a good.
There's enough. I think there's enough exploration.
Game design style. And the warp points are pretty generous between.
Oh, I'm glad you brought those up
different sections. So those are convenient.
Do you think, I thought that was another thing that I think early on, some folks are like complaining a little bit about how there's not enough warp points, but I think there's enough.
Well, you wanna get good at mastering the world and like the little obstacles and breezing through them. So like when you're lost, I can see the frustration of like sometimes I'm pulling up my map like every few, because I'm like, or like I'm trying to get to this point on the map and I have to go from left all the way to the right, and I'm like, okay, so if I go through that entrance, it actually leads me in this other area. So I'm pulling up the map like every 10 seconds. That actually is frustrating. So I can get that, but you also want people to go through, like, getting around and moving is a huge part of the platforming experience of this game. So like that's how you're supposed to do it, man.
Sure.
And the environments are really cool. So like just take a moment and look at how cool they are.
Man, was it with the catacombs or something? I was like legitimately creeped out.
Oh, I hated those, dude. That one guy that like
the old man or whatever. Which one are you talking about?
There's a few ones, dude. There's one that like sucks your soul.
Oh, the gate key dude or whatever. He's got the big staff.
He sucks.
That's different.
He sucks.
And you can beat him. He's like one of the mini bosses. You get like a cool key from him or whatever.
I've done it. Yeah.
Oh, you beat him. Nice. I haven't beat him yet.
You have to switch dimensions. So I thought you could beat him beforehand, and then when he sits on a knee, and you're like, "What's going on here?" You got to switch the other dimension and beat his ass over there, and that's how you end up actually beating him finally. You have a confrontation. It's designed. Yeah. No, it's like this other guy where he does this swipe attack at you. It's kind of like a ghost thing in those little sewersies archived area. Okay. And it like goes down your throat or something. And then most of your health, all of your health except for like 1 bar is taken away until you heal at a tree.
Yeah.
Like you can't regenerate it.
Oh, that's rough.
So I'm surprised you haven't run into him. He fucking sucks.
I might have ran away from him.
That's solid. Because you can beat him and it's not like a huge reward for it. It's just he has this one move that you can't block. So if you're preparing to block or you dodged the wrong direction, like he gets you and then you're kind of stuck with him because he basically is a parasite on you.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So going back to the enemies and the bosses being cool, fun designs, things that they saw in other games. Like Metroid Dread, I'd say the bosses are very theatrical.
They are, man.
Not as grindy as like Hollow Knight bosses where it's really like mastering.
Yeah, I have no reference there.
Well, it's like it's the same thing with Metroid bosses where you kind of have to master their flow and know when their attacks are coming and how to dodge. This game is similar to that too. Although there's some liberalness as far as like when you get your attacks in.
We've been dropping the word Metrovania a lot, dude. So get ready. You ready for this? Souls-like.
The Souls-like Metroidvania thing is like a Hollow Knight thing.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I do think that's,
they toned it down though, for sure.
And that's what's interesting, dude, too, because as I've kind of been reading about this game and like just kind of getting a flavor for what other people are saying about it, that is another thing that some folks are like, oh, the bosses are too easy. Well, good for you, because I don't think any of the boxes that I fought were too easy.
There's 1 or 2 I got on the first or second try, but there's some others where I had a fist bump.
I mean, the first boss, like, yeah, I didn't die, but like, dude, I'm not trying to fucking get game overs on like, or, to die like on all my bosses. Like, there's something like a couple times, sure. Dread, I think, like walked that line really good, whereas like there was some that were infuriating, and I think this one's close on that.
This one's more accessible, like all the other things. Like Dread, some of the ones towards the end, I was like,
dude, they're pretty hard.
Go.
Feel pretty good when you beat them, though.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And I think
feels good in this game too.
To all the like Souls like lovers, like I get it. Like I understand that's a vibe. That's what you're going for, and you do feel fucking like a beast when you take down a boss like that. So
yeah, and some of us just aren't good at parrying, and we just spam dodge. So we end up losing a lot of battles. Some downsides, some things that weren't the greatest. There's just always the moments where you want to quit and play something easier because you're tired of being lost and not knowing what to do. And I actually saw this morning and I was mildly annoyed. So it's funny it got into the update, or not but the outline is that the Ubisoft price system, it was $50 on release, which was a nice price point. Probably should have been like 40 or what it is now, 30 for a little bit. They're the worst, man. So people get mad at Nintendo for never dropping their prices, but they're like, no, this is a premium product. You will pay a price. Ubisoft is the biggest slut in the game. I almost never buy one of their new games because it's like waiting till Thanksgiving to buy Madden. I'm like, still plenty of plenty of season time. But
shout out to the homie Ryan and List Off Pod. But he made this comment, I think, in his Discord or something. But about this game, he was like, or maybe he said it on his podcast, but basically, he was like, I'm super interested in this game, but I'm not going to buy it out the gate because it's Ubisoft and it will be 50% off within like X amount of months.
I haven't bought the newest Assassin's Creed. And
Me neither, and it's already 40% off, dude.
I'm waiting for it to get a slightly higher because I have other games to play, but I was interested in Mirage, but I will wait.
I want to fuck with Mirage too, and so that one, I want to fuck with, I'm a little less so because I don't want like the full on like open world, but the Avatar game is supposed to be pretty cool too. That's also like they're doing an Ubisoft sale right now, dude. So this game, those games are all like 40% off, which is dope.
Yeah,
I typically will take like a 50% off threshold. Like once something hits 50 or more, I'm like, all right, send it. But you can almost guarantee that a Ubisoft game is going to go 40 to like 80% off within the first year of being released. And this game's 2 months old. And like, here's the deal: I know sales weren't great, but it's like just release your game for fucking $30 at the beginning.
I mean, they got us, so joke's on you, bum.
Well, maybe, sure. maybe. I
Well,
don't know.
it's interesting because when I, who would I recommend this game to? When I talk to people about it, they're like, generally they hear Ubisoft, they might hear the IP of Prince of Persia, and they're generally not super interested, which I find frustrating because I want to share this game with people because it's fucking cool. So at least when it's $30, it's like much easier to be like, dude, I promise you, it's like 20 to 30 hours long. So like, although maybe that's a hang up, maybe people don't want it to be that long, but it's like, it's a long game. It's like, it's a meaty game. I shouldn't say it's a long game. It's a meaty, it's appropriately length.
And you could probably streamline it if you put on those checkpoints.
Mm-hmm. So like right now at 30, I would say if you like any Metroid game, or if you liked Hollow Knight, it's such an easy recommendation. If the whole 2D thing and you're just an open world boy, that's so okay.
You ready for this hot take?
What's up?
Top 5 Metroidvania.
I'd have to do a lot of research. It's one of my top 5 Metroidvanias because I haven't played a ton.
You do realize that all my ratings are based off my personal experience.
And everything's in your top 5.
That's an old joke for sure.
Anybody else any other downsides or any other recommendations?
Dude, just truly the price system that Ubisoft rolls out. Like Ubisoft's got some ill will in the gaming community, and I think it's like somewhat deserved.
I think they're too corporate.
I think you're right. And it's
corporate. All the big corporations generally have a bad rep, but they're making money hand over fist.
No, that's just it. Yeah. So you do you Ubisoft, but fuck, man.
Yeah. I'm glad that I wanted to play this, like similar to a lot of people felt the pressure to play Dread because they're like, we need to show Nintendo that Dread is Metroid is a profitable franchise.
Sure.
It feels the same for me for this. So I just think that Metroidvania is a little bit more niche, but it's like kind of a critic darling versus like, most people playing like Call of Duty and like, your different Fortnites and things like that. So the part of the market share pie that ends up with this style of game is unfortunately slim. So I just like that they made a really cool, polished game. I don't need another one from them particularly soon because this one is really cool. But I like that they took a stab in like an old genre that kind of harkens back to its roots. I just think that it was a great idea to make, and I think the execution was sick.
I agree 100%, man. I'm glad they did it. My hope,
it'd make a cool cartoon, by the way.
It would. You're right.
The story is cool. The art's cool. I think it'd make a good like little cartoon series on Netflix.
Just don't cast what's his name as the lead.
Jake Gyllenhaal. Bring him back, brother. Bring him back.
I can dig it. No, man, I would recommend this to anybody that likes Metroidvanias, platformers. I think this is a super silky platformer. I mentioned earlier the fight system like reminds me of a fighting game. So if you like fighting games and are, I think that's another plus for this game. So like if any of those things sound sexy to you, like send it for $30. Wait another year and send it for probably 20.
Yeah, $20. I'll probably actually send out some texts. But right now, if this sounded cool to you, we recommend it for sure. A lot of solid parts went into it. There's not like a huge glaring weak issue. It's just like overall, like really solid.
Right on. Well, with that, man, you want to take a little break, hear from our unsanctioned sponsor?
And then come back with some side questions.
Yes, sir. My dude, unsanctioned sponsor.
Memoriam.
This one's hard for me. I'm probably going to have to edit out a bunch of tears and crying. Some of you may know. I don't know if I can do this, but I want to. I lost my boy Murphy, and I just want to shout him out. It's my dog, like my actual real dog. And I know we got some listeners that chicken on Murphy from time to time. Oh, this is pretty vulnerable. I'm not sure about putting this out on the internet.
You could also come back to it later when it's less raw.
That's true. But I'm just going to try again.
Just think of boobs. Murph liked boobs, I'm sure.
Yeah, dude, this isn't a fun and sanctioned sponsor for me, but I just memoriam, like you said, and I just want to shout out my boy Murph. A lot of listeners know about Murph and know that he means a lot to me. And we lost Murph to cancer, bro. And yeah, don't mean to be crying on the internet and stuff, but I just want to shout him out and let him know that I love him, and I know he knows that. But just let all you guys know that you know, guys and gals and shit and whatever the fuck. If you got pets, give them some love, you know. If you got a doggo, sniff its butt for Murph.
I don't fully sanction that, but
I'm just playing. But it's hard, man. Cancer sucks. Cancer got Murph. And, you know, sorry for not making this one a fun, unsanctioned sponsor for you guys. But like I said, I just wanted to let people know that we lost Murph. And, you know, time is precious. Pets are precious. And, yeah, man. He was always there. He's there for a lot of my editing sessions, a lot of my gaming sessions.
He was barking at us our first ever recorded attempted episode.
That's true, man.
It's on the loose.
It's true, and you know, I just wanted to have this opportunity to, yeah, just I love Murph. He was there. He was there unofficially helping me bring you all Low 5 Gaming. So
to the goodest of boys.
To the goodest of boys. We'll keep this one short unless you put you on the spot. You want to say something about Murph quick?
I don't know, man. Murph and Turf was a good boy. It's good to my homie Winston. You know, it was fun watching them grow up and wrestle around and do the most. So you do very much love your dog. So I know it's tough for you, buddy.
Yes, sir.
But you know,
he's good as boys.
He was the goodest of boys, man.
But yeah, much love to you all. And like I said, a lot of you do check in on me on how Murph's doing and shit. And I just want to put out there that we did lose Murph. And I haven't really talked about his struggles the last few months, but he had nasal cancer. And cancer's tough. So here's to all, a love to all of you, all to the pets out there, and you know, and fuck cancer.
Fuck cancer forever, dude.
All right.
To the goodest of boys. Side questing. I was just starting Dave the Diver last time.
You got some side quests, bro?
So many side quests. I haven't cashed them in yet, though. I've left a lot of them banked.
That's all right.
Not finishing the side quests.
We didn't even talk about side quests in Persia, but they got side quests.
Yeah, they do, and they're cool. I forget about them because the way you play that game is just kind of flowing around. So sometimes I meet the objectives, and other times I'm like, oh yeah, I need to collect those moon pieces with that psychopath. Dave the Diver, dude, on my little trip.
Yeah.
Was just starting to play. It was the Steamy D on the plane was sick, dude. And in the hotel room.
Was it bad? Did you plug it in or how'd you do on the
dude? No outlets on SkyWest was, you know, was it SkyWest or was it Sun Country? Whoever it was, I was like, meh. Like they had a USB to even charge my phone. So I was like, oh man, I couldn't even charge my phone. But anyway, it was sick to play on the plane. I was immediately grabbed. I can see why some people get burnt out 10 to 15 hours in. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
On Dave the Diver?
Yeah, it's introducing a lot of these different small concepts and like
does
little
it continue
mini games.
To do that throughout?
There's like, I'm pretty far in, dude. And they're like, and this is the farm system. So they do a good job of like bringing you in. But what's crazy, and I've, you know, had some sidebar conversations and folk like, my favorite part of the game is like getting the fish to return up to your restaurant and then doing the little restaurant sim.
Okay.
And pretty quickly, the restaurant sim becomes pretty easy and not as big of a focus as I would like. So like if they ever make a second one or if someone makes a game like that and it's just more fleshed out of the way that you like run the restaurant, I actually found that engrossing. And I liked finding the different like specialty sushis and dishes to prepare for specific clients or parties. I always get a big thrill out of those money bonuses and like seeing your book sheet or whatever you fancy economic terms for your business. I like that game a lot. So Dave the Diver, one of last year's darlings. We're not one of those pods that gets through tons of games throughout the year. Helps that we're
more than
buying.
I ever used to.
This is true. This is true. Probably definitely more than the average gamer, but like not like we're staying, you know, we're not working at like an official site, so we're not playing every game as it comes out before like award season even. So like this was like last year's huge controversially indie darling. So I just think this game is really cool. I very much enjoyed it. The humor, the animation, it's an absolute delight, and it goes on sale a lot, and they've done like DLC themed packs with a Godzilla, and I'm super excited for
it's cool crossover DLC.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to buy or figure out the Dredge thing when I'm far enough in this game, because Dredge was probably my favorite game of last year.
Yeah, dude.
So the fact that they're holding hands, doing a little high five thing here would be really cool. Small update on Majora's Mask. Me being lost in that temple, in my opinion, was not my fault. And I'm really annoyed by it. I finally, after way too much poking around, looked it up online. And then what I had to do was something that, like, there's this room.
Yeah.
You flip the temple over, and there's like these two flowers, and you use a flower to jump across, and use your Deku, whatever. And then there's just two like door windowsill things, and like I tried to float up into one, and then I walked in the animation cut, so clearly I wasn't supposed to go over there. So I never did the one across the room.
Okay.
And that's where I was supposed to go next to like unlock the whatever next piece of the map and like blah blah blah. And that was really triggering for me because I was like, I had the idea, it's just it wouldn't let me go anywhere over there, so I just assumed it was cosmetic over there too, and I was like, that's stupid. And as always, I didn't write it on the outline, but I'm now doing the Vikings in Madden.
Oh, word.
And charting our future.
You finished Majora's Mask though?
No.
Still plugging away.
I was going to like bully you into doing it some more. And I know I got the big boss fight ahead of me.
Yeah.
And I always get a little bit of a pre-big boss fight anxiety.
Sure.
It's like that not wanting to finish thing,
exactly.
But it's also like this might be harder than I want it to be thing, even though it's probably not.
So you're right up then to the...
I think so. I finished the last temple, so I think what you do from there is you just confront him on the third day. For all I know.
Yep. That's cool, man. Yeah, so I haven't I haven't like gone super far. I like early on in the month I played a little bit more off the pod crunch, and that was nice. It was like I think that with the Zelda thing, dude, like it's just one of those games similar to what we're saying about Metroidvanias. It's just like I love just kind of more relaxed, like traversing the map and trying to figure things out, and not trying to rush through it. So I also have not beat it, but I'm going to keep plugging at it.
How about your games? Still suck at 2K?
Dude, we could, I don't know. I'll show you what's up. I'd probably ball all over you in 2K. I'm just going to say.
It's been some years, but I still doubt it. That muscle memory probably comes back way too fast for me.
Dog, I got my season going with the T-Pups. They are unstoppable. I actually did lose a couple games, though. My undefeated streak is over. But I'm past the All-Star break. Well, I did a shortened season, so
it's like the first time in life that like virtual Timberwolves are doing good, and it's not like a lie.
I know,
on
it's
reality.
Great. It's so great.
That's an interesting sensation.
It's been a lot of fun, man. Because I don't have any channels to like. I don't have the access to watch T-Pups games, so I watch all the highlights on social media, and I like follow the box scores, and I check in to see if they won or not. Sometimes I'll be walking around when I would walk Murphy around, dude. I'd walk past a little restaurant by my house that has big windows.
Just press your face against the glass.
I've been giving my score updates by there and shit.
Howl, motherfuckers.
But yeah, man, I haven't early on in the month. I didn't play a bunch of 2K. I was, but then I kind of just needed that. I needed that soul food, man. I needed just veg out
fair.
And play a little 2K. And
these sports simulations are too comfortable to slip into.
Totally.
NCAA is coming out in the fall, and like, bro, we might have to do our first like official sports podcast.
Oh boy,
yeah.
That'd be fun, man. That's there's some controversy around that. What are they offering players? Like $600 and a copy of the game,
dude. That's fine for me, dude. In college, if you were like, "Hey, Luke, there's $600 and a copy of this game you're gonna buy anyway," I would have been like, "Oh, dude, and I'm in the game. That's so fucking cool, dude." So like, yeah, there's some players that's a ripoff too, but like, for the Golden Gophers. I had a student that we taught at my school that's actually on the Gophers, and I kind of want to see if he's in the game.
Yeah,
because there's no way he wouldn't opt in. So I want to see how far that. There's like one person I know of that didn't opt in, and it's like Peyton Manning's nephew.
Right. They made headlines.
Yeah.
But anyway, 2K, dude, I've been playing some 2K. I'm just one game away from the playoffs. The Wolves definitely made the playoffs. I'm excited to do that. I'll probably do 3-game series. So I'll keep plugging away. Give me that championship.
Hell yeah. Just like in real life.
Yes, sir. The other game that I've been falling into is Risk of Rain 2. So it's a game I had on Switch, but I never put too much time into. I used to really like Risk of Rain 1.
Did I make you buy that?
No, it was this one that I got on a cheap sale on for physical, and I was like, I'll scoop it. I think you maybe recommended it.
I had my buddy Tyler play it, and then like a weekend went by, and he was better than me at it, and he was trying to play it. I was like, dude, I fucking suck. All right, dude. So him and my buddy Carter got like super good at it. And
dude, if you're down,
I was like basically playing like the little brother with an unplugged controller, just dying all the time.
Dude, it's tough, man, but it's fun.
It's got a sick loop. Game. It's really got a good loop.
I used to like Risk of Rain 1 better, and I played a decent chunk of that, but now a homie hooked this one up. So shout out to Donnie. Thanks, Donnie. So I've been playing,
Fuck yeah.
dude, because I had it on.
Foot was over the line.
But I had this on Switch, dude. I never got super into it. But he hooked it up on Steam, and this is one of those games that's easy. I'm like, I don't know. I'll just like play a little Risk of Rain right now. Risk of Rain 2.
Yeah, when you suck, it's like 10 to 15 minutes. The problem
Right.
is when you're good, you're just like an hour long.
Yeah, fair enough. And I do kind of suck. I've gotten like, I've probably put in maybe 5-ish hours to it, maybe a little less than that, actually, to be honest. And I can like get about 3 levels deep, but I haven't unlocked any new characters yet, like, and that kind of shit. And that's, and I'm playing solo, dude. I think it'd be super fun to like link up and play with some folks.
It is. Unless they're way better than you, like Tyler.
Fair enough. Well, we should link up, bro.
Fuck those nerds, dude.
Speaking of like fucking service games or whatever you want to call these, like games you play with folks, I did end up getting Helldivers 2. And I've dabbled in it a little bit, but I gotta like do something with my computer. My computer's a beast, but I've got some settings like effed up with it where it's not playing the gameplay itself isn't being as smooth as it should be. So that has deterred me from putting any more time into it. But it's cool, man. It's not the type of game, like I don't do a lot of multiplayer gaming. But I want to do some more of this game because you could drop some randoms and it's still fun.
Your baby is young too, so like it'd be easier for me, and I still struggle with these styles of games. But like a mission's like half an hour. Right. And you gotta like sync up the time with your homies too, unless you're doing random folks. Yeah. So it's like, so that's I've run into that, it's cool, man. It's cool to be able to taste it. It's like my salty New Year's resolution to do a game night each week, and I have not initiated one once.
Yeah, well, let's get it going. Let's try it. But as it'll be.
I do.
We'll get it happening, dude.
This will be a fun one from this lonely gamer over here, dude.
Those are the two games I've been playing the most of outside of Prince of Persia. And then another little note for the folks, for the real nerds out there, the handheld lovers. If you know about the Playdate, it's this quirky little handheld system that I've maybe talked about before, and it's a niche novelty item. Just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah, dude. No hesitation with that. Like it's fun gear, but like,
dude, totally. But it's made by Panic, and it's cool, man. It's fun, and I recently was like, you know what? About a year ago, almost a year ago today, they rolled out their catalog. So when it was first released, it was on a season pass, and every week on that first season, they would unveil a new game to you. And I thought that was a cool system. And honestly, if they did a season 2, I would sign up because I liked how that worked. But what they decided to do, and it makes sense, is they created their own store. So they have a catalog or whatever, and you can go in there and you can buy their games. And they're not cheap, dude. They're like between $2 and $12, which isn't expensive. But it adds up for like quirky little games.
An hour at the plate the most.
Right. So so it's one of those things. And for like it being a niche little product, I recommend it to handheld lovers, but like I can't recommend it to like the normal gamer.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like okay. So what I'm driving at though is I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna buy a couple of these games, $5 a piece or whatever. Because they have a shmup section, dude, and you know how I am with my shmups. Like I'm not fucking good at them, but I love them. I think they're dope.
Hell yeah.
So Space Master and Gun Trails. Space Master is a horizontal side-scrolling shmup, and this Playdate has a
shoot them up.
Yeah,
shoot them up.
It's got a crank, right? So this Playdate has a crank, and that's kind of its quirky, like weird little thing about it.
Yeah.
In this particular game, Space Master, it's fun because you have a shield, and the shield, when you get hit by bullets, goes down. But you can, if you like take your hand off of the buttons and you crank it up,
that's kind of fun.
It recharges your shield, which is like an awkward thing to do in the middle of shmup because shmups are pretty like there's a lot of shit going on, and like to try and like still move your plane around or your spaceship and then hit that crank. It's like I'm not very good at it, but it's like a fun little thing to do.
I like to see you just like hunched over this tiny little cute yellow thing and just freaking out. It is yellow, yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Gun Trails is the other one, and that's a vertical or tate, depending on who you speak to, which basically is, I explained the first one, Space Master, was horizontal. So if you play Nemesis or what, I don't know why I'm trying to tell you this to you.
It's like Galaga
But for the folks that are listening, it's, horizontal scrolling, whereas Gun Trails is your vertical or tate mode. And I really that's my favorite kind of shmup is the tate mode one. But the screen for this is a horizontal screen. And they haven't, in theory, you could have developed it so you just like move the thing and like, hold it differently. That doesn't really matter. But the reason I bring it up though is because there's a lot going on. And for a small real estate and horizontal, like it's pretty chaotic. but it's also like surprisingly fun.
Oh, yeah.
So like I cannot get very far at all, but it's the type of system that you don't, for me anyways, the way I approach the system, like I only play it for like 15 minutes pop or whatever. So like if I do maybe like 3, 4, 5 runs of that, I'm like, that was fun. I suck. I'm not going to get any further, but it's like, it was worth my $5.
Hell yeah.
Well, cool, man.
There's a small team behind it too. So fun time.
But those are the side quests. Thanks, everybody, for joining us for another episode of Low 5 Gaming. You can find us on low5gaming.com. There's little links for our socials. Join the Discord. Man, thanks for listening, y'all. This is so dope. You made it this far. Big old virtual hug for you. I appreciate it. And if this is your first time listening and you thought it was dope, give us a 5-star review on your podcatcher of choice if they give you that ability. And if you were like, that was garbage,
keep it to yourself.
Keep it to yourself, bro.
Respectfully. Respectfully, keep it to yourself. If you don't like it, listen to our first Prince of Persia and be like, did they get better or worse?
Indeed. That would be fun. Holler at us. Let us know how we did. And you can shoot us an email. Everything is on the website, low5gaming.com. Much love to y'all.
Pew, pew.
Peace, bro.
Peace. Peace.
Right on.
Peace.